Women Innovators. Interviews with women with big messages and big missions, sharing their stories to inspire you to live your passion and step up to make the world a better place. Here's your host, Tammy Patzer.
Hi, this is Tammy Patzer, and I'm really excited to introduce today's guest, author Doris Vilk. Dr. Dora Vilk Shapiro grew up in Havana, Cuba, and has lived in Nassau, Bahamas, Milan, Italy, Madrid, Spain, New York, New Jersey, and Florida. She attended the University of Florida, where she received her BA in Liberal Arts and Sciences, and the University of Medicine and Dentistry of New Jersey, where she received her Doctor of Dental Medicine degree. She owned and operated her own dental practice, Dental Visions, and practiced dentistry for 29 years. She also taught dental hygiene at Broward College and dentistry at Nova Southeastern College, and has been pursuing her teaching and her other passion, writing. She lives in Lauderdale by the Sea, Florida, with her husband and has one son. Now listen to this. Remember, I just told you how Dora, or Doris Vilk, is a dentist with all of this background, but she has also written a book, Love Arrested. In this debut novel, it is just like climbing the charts, and it's receiving rave reviews on Amazon.com. It's the first of a trio of books in the Chatham series. Listen to this. The next one is Love Attempted, and Love Avenged is coming soon. Welcome, Doris.
Hi, Tammy. It's good to be here.
This is really exciting because not only have you been a leader in all types of women's business organizations and you've received multiple awards for your community service, now you're in a new chapter in your life after serving Dental Visions for almost 30 years, 29
Yes.
years. Now you've taken on this new passion of writing, and these aren't business books, are they?
No, not business books at all. Very far from that.
So tell me more about how you decided, after all those years of being of service, to write Love Arrested.
So one of the things I learned in leading women business entrepreneurs was that we have to have a plan B, because life loves to throw us curveballs. And in my case, it was some health issues that came into play that started to limit my ability to do dentistry the way that I envisioned practicing dentistry. I always had a belief that taking care of the patient was not just taking care of their teeth, but taking care of the whole patient. And I did a lot of that through humor and trying to entertain the patient, because I felt that if the patient was relaxed and happy and even laughing, who thinks of laughing at a dental office, the patient would heal better and be more relaxed, and it would make my job of doing their dentistry easier, and it helped build my dental practice by having happy and loyal patients. So when I encountered these issues, I decided that, well, I had to leave my dental career and I had to have a plan B. And I always had a passion for writing, and I loved writing, and I was good at it in college and had done very well. And being in dentistry, you had to be so serious all the time. And I took that ADA code of ethics so passionately and seriously, and felt I had to be, and I am actually in many ways, very conservative. And, you would never hear me say a swear word unless I stubbed my toe or something like that. And here, all of a sudden, it was like I was free. In my story, Love Arrested, and the reason for the title is that this model and actress gets arrested for a crime, and I felt arrested in many ways. So it was like I was free to all of a sudden like explore different parts of myself and to find a way to make patients smile in a different way.
So in Love Arrested, a model gets arrested for some crime. Is this, where would you place your Chatham series in terms of the hot level or the romance level?
Well, it's very interesting because a lot of these erotic romance books are about 90% hot and steamy and maybe 10% story. And I feel like I've almost started a new genre of what I consider a sophisticated erotic romance. Because, yes, there are some steamy scenes that'll make you like little flush, but at the same time, there's a story and there's character development and there's a lot of feelings because I feel that a part of what I can contribute is to enhance and prepare the audience to be aroused in all their senses, not just sexual senses, but the senses of sight and sound and smell and touch. And so it's more than just the steaminess of the novel. It's also feeling all the emotions. If you were an actress and you had everything in life and you were framed for a crime you didn't commit, how would that feel? What is that fall from grace like? How would your life change? How would you have to be resilient? How would you have to gain empowerment? And that's really what a lot of Love Arrested is about, along with a very steamy and lovely romantic story.
So your main character's name is Susan Chatham. Is that right?
Yes. Yes, that's correct.
And where does the book take place? This particular number one, where does it take place?
The book takes place in Los Angeles because she's a Hollywood actress and model, married to a Hollywood director and producer.
Oh, okay. So Susan is at the top of her game in
Yes.
the modeling and acting world, married to someone who's probably equally a high level, and she gets accused of this crime. Okay, that's
Yes.
very interesting. So I like that when you said about the sophisticated erotic romance and that it's not just a bunch of, sex scenes smashed together, because I know that a lot of times these very popular novels, like Shades of Grey, 50 Shades of Grey and everything, many people often have said that the writing in the book really is not that good. It's just, it got popular because it was something that I guess caught the attention of many people. But it sounds like
Yes.
you've taken a lot of time. How long has Susan and her adventures been part of you? How did she
Well,
come forth?
Susan came forth almost 30 years ago when I was walking to classes in college and would daydream about this character. So the actual original story is that old. It wasn't until stories like 50 Shades of Grey or Sylvia Day with her Crossfire series or Shayla Black with her series, it wasn't until then that I actually decided to add the steaminess in. So even though there's some very steamy and hot scenes that will make you reach for who knows whatever your pleasures are, you could take all those scenes out of the story and still have a novel. Whereas a lot of these books that are in this genre, if you took the sex out of it, you'd almost have no story.
That's really interesting. I really like that because again, I'm really happy that you have Love Attempted and Love Avenged coming too, because it sounds to me like people are going to fall in love with Susan and want more from her. And of course, we can't reveal any of the things that happened, but is Love Attempted and Love Avenged? Susan is still part of those books, right?
Oh, absolutely. Like I've had the fans saying, "When's the next book? When's the next book?" And I'm like, "Wait a second, I'm writing a book, not a grocery list here." Both books are actually written. Love Attempted is in its final edits with the cover made and everything. So I expect it to come out maybe in the next couple months. And Love Avenged will probably be coming out closer to 2018. But it follows the same main characters, which is Susan Chatham. I don't want to reveal the love interest yet, because in case the readers want to find that out for themselves. But there's also many accessory characters that are also developed, unlike something like a 50 Shades, where you may have some extra additional love stories and other characters that you care about what happens to them and be able to follow them as well. So different fans may fall in love with some of the different characters in the story besides just the heroine and the protagonist.
I like that, Doris, because that is often what happens. There may be some minor character that makes the entire book just shine. And, it helps Susan to be able to reveal who she is too, because that's one thing about novels and books. So you started writing back in college, or at least thinking about it. So you spent all these years as, I guess, the humorous dentist.
Yes.
Making more than smiles. Have you gotten any feedback from your patients or from any of the women's organizations that you've been so integral to?
I have, which has actually been my biggest compliment, is that patients or people that knew me well, like an office manager or a coworker or a past student, will read the book and say, where was that? Like, who is this person? And to me, it's the biggest compliment as a writer, because it's like exactly that. It's the creativity of what can be made, that the world of Susan Chatham, and why I picked the pen name Doris Vilk, is really Doris Vilk's creation, and not the Dr. Dora Vilk Shapiro, who was the very conservative, adjunct faculty at a dental college or at the hygiene school or any of that. The story was in my head, and 50 Shades was very popular, and I was speaking with one of my hygienists, and she was really into all these books. So she starts recommending these other books in a romantic, erotic genre to me. And I said, her name's Sharon, which I dedicated the book to. And Sharon says, "Tell me about your story." Because I said, I have a story. And let me tell you a little bit about the story. So I tell her the equivalent of what's probably the teaser for the book. And Sharon comes to me the next week and says, "Wow, Dr. Dora," which is what they always used to call me because we were, very informal. And she's like, "I loved your story. You should write that." At the same time, Orange is the New Black was very popular on Netflix. And my husband and I were binging on that. And we're watching the show. And I had shared a little bit of my story with my husband as well, because there is this prison aspect to the story, hence Love Arrested. And my husband's like, "Wow, there's a lot of Orange is the New Black, seems very similar to your story." And I said, "You're right." I go, "I'm taking too long to write my story. People are going to think that I've copied that instead of that I've had this story originally in my head." So I decided, you know what? It's time for me to write the book. The universe is giving me signs. I'm not doing dentistry. I'm used to being a hard worker and being busy. I've always wanted to write, and writing is more than just writing my clinical notes in a patient's chart. And it just seemed like the timing was right for the birth of Love Arrested. And once I started to put these scenes that I had in my head all these years on paper, it just came flying out. It must have taken maybe 6 months to just get it out of my brain onto paper. And then, of course, the editing process starts. So now I start editing it. And here I was, this dentist, and knew nothing about the writing world. So I started to attend writers conferences and research online, and do some more research as to our prison systems. And in other words, to make the story a little bit more reality based. And the next thing I know, I just asked one person, leads you to another person. I used a network I had already formed in my women's business entrepreneur groups, and asked and asked and asked until I came across a graphic designer, an editor, someone who could format the book through CreateSpace and Kindle for me, because I have a great imagination and great creativity, but I wouldn't call myself a techie. So getting it on the actual, with the correct formatting was a challenge for me. So I decided to hire that out. I suppose if you're very good at that, it's something you could do on your own and save yourself some money. But I decided to get help and get these other people involved. So Love Arrested was edited by Patty Nolan of About the Words. And all 3 books, the covers will be by Vicki Landis from Landis Design Resources. And Vicki is also the editor for books 2 and 3. I decided to change because Vicki is a published mystery writer herself. So I decided that would help make the mystery aspects of the books that much more realistic if I had an editor that was very experienced in that genre as well. And that's how it all started. And then they recommended Greg Brickman, who has been the person, wonderful lady who helped me format the book onto CreateSpace so that I could self-publish. And so really, to write a book, you have to edit and edit and edit yourself. Then it goes to, I feel you need a professional editor. And then she's got to edit, and things go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth more than you can even count. And so I would say, even if you have the book entirely in your head and ready to go, you're looking at probably a 2-year process to really do it correctly and to really turn out a polished, finished project, so that even if you write something famous like 50 Shades of Grey, you don't get the comments of that the writing was poor, or that you might still find typos, although you'll find that it's very, very difficult because your brain will put in words and see things. So those typos are really hard to find. And even when you've proofread everything, like I found on the Kindle version, something that isn't in the printed book, which you wonder how that can even happen. But, these things happen. So as a reader, we have to just be patient in that even with everything being perfect, you might still come across an error, like when you watch a movie and you see something that wasn't continuous. Someone got a haircut and they didn't catch that the hair was different in one scene to the other.
Or the microphone hanging down in the scene. I see that a lot. Wow, what you just said, and the beauty of having this interview is that people can go back and listen again and again. What you said was really valuable information about the process of writing this and the erotic mystery genre too, because I think you're absolutely right. You have the sophisticated, erotic, romantic mystery. so you really do have a great genre. And what you said about that, isn't it interesting how you had Susan Chatham has been with you for at least 30 years.
Yes.
And because you were living your life, she was just waiting. And at something big had to happen in your life where you said, uh-oh, dentistry is not where I need to be right now. It's time to reinvent myself. And Susan was going, okay, I've been waiting. And then the universe said to you, hey, it's time. 50 Shades of Grey is out. The Orange is the New Black. And you are absolutely right. You've had this idea for all these years. And it was just like, hey, Doris, it's time to let Susan live and to tell her story.
Yes, that's exactly what it was. It was time to get Susan, who was getting into prison, and see what we could do to get her out of prison.
Well, that would be, I'm really excited to read the book. And then also book number 2, Love Attempted and Love Avenged. And then I have a feeling that there's probably going to end up being other books with Susan, because remember, there are some books that the characters become so beloved that the readers just want more. And I can see that, this could be like a movie or a TV series. And
absolutely.
There's all these opportunities for you.
Yes. I totally see it as a movie. When I see the scenes in my head to write them, I see them as a movie scene.
My mother used to write, and she would actually have dreams, and I would wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning to the tap, tap, tap of the typewriter, because my mom would wake up and write what her characters were doing in the dreams, and she wrote 2 novels based on the characters doing whatever they were doing in her dreams, and then she would write it out, and I had the honor of taking those to the post office to send them off to agents in New York. But sadly my mom passed away before we had the ability to self-publish. And now here's the beauty of it. You're in control of your work, and you're able to have it on CreateSpace, on Kindle. If you find a typo you can fix it.
We can fix it. Yes. We have more control. And I think in my case, dentistry had so many rules and so many regulations and so much authority attached to it, both in dental training and afterwards in private practice, and with the way the insurance industry is getting involved and corporate dentistry is getting involved. And in deciding to be a writer, I didn't want to go through all that. I felt like it's going to take too long. I want to get this story out. And I went to the romance writers conference here in South Florida. And there was a writer there that really spoke to me. Somehow the words that she said just touched my heart, in that this was a very successful woman, Amazon bestseller, New York Times bestseller. And she mentioned how she had both published traditionally and done self-publishing, which is called indie publishing, and that her indie publishing books were doing better, and she was actually doing financially better with her indie than she was doing with her traditional stuff. And then I had the experience where I got to sell my story to like literary agents and publishers that were there at this conference. And one, for example, said, oh, send me the first 100 pages of your book. And I'm thinking to myself, how are they going to publish my book? In the first 100 pages, the characters haven't even met. The protagonist and the heroine haven't met, because you have to set the stage that Susan's in prison. So I realized right there and then, very early on, that I was not going to make the same business mistakes that I might have made in dentistry, even though people don't think dentistry is a business. I suppose every career nowadays has been turned into a business. And I said, I want to put this story out the way I want to see it, with the characters the way I want them to be, with the artwork the way I want it to be. And I want to have that control to be able to make the story as enjoyable and as real life as possible. And I think that's why the fans keep saying it's such a page turner, because even though I myself have experienced a lot of challenges, and Susan Chatham experiences a lot of challenges, even though my challenges may not be the same as what hers are, the feelings, the emotions, the real life, what you're feeling, the sadness, the happiness, the eroticism, when you're tasting something good, when you're feeling pain, all those emotions were taken from things that are very real, whether it's something that happened to me or somebody that I know, or research that I've done. And it's really all about the human experience. We've all undergone that. We've all had happy moments, sad moments, people that have hurt us, people that have made us feel good, people that have been our guardian angels, things that have been taken away from us when we felt it was very unfair. And so all those are part of the human experience. And so every reader will find something in common and will fall in love with the characters like I did.
Well, I think that Susan Chatham is about to just become one of the most popular characters out there. And you, Doris, as an author, you have such a beautiful way of describing the creative process and how you took, your career where you were held back, yet you made dentistry so creative and fun. And then, of course, now Susan is living after waiting for you for more than 30 years. I just think that is so cool. And that book, Love Arrested, is available on Amazon.com, and you can get it in both Kindle and in the paperback version, correct?
Yes, that's correct. And if you're an Amazon Prime member, the shipping is free. Or you can go on the website, which is www.dorisvilk.com. And that's Doris, Doris, and Vilk is like milk with a V, V as in Victor, ILK. So dorisvilk.com, and that has links to Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest. There's a blog, there's an events page, so you can find out if I'm doing any events. Again, I do a lot of community service, so a lot of times I donate the books for different charities to their fundraisers. The next charity that's coming up is from Hispanic Women of Distinction, for their, I believe they call it Lighthouse Clinic of the World. So I like to donate books to them. I recently did something through American Business Women's Association. Their fundraising goes for business scholarships for women. So I do like to give back to the community. So when you're supporting me, you're also supporting community service.
That is so awesome. And that's also just to point out to the listeners who a lot of times they like to talk about, how do you market your book? You just gave some really awesome tips about how to get your book out there into the hands of other people. And that is by donating copies of your book to a charity so that they could either sell it or use it as a door prize or have it in a silent auction. So that was a really good marketing tip that you just gave, Doris, and I really appreciate that. So is there anything else that you would like our audience to know before I let you go today? Any secrets we might want to know about Susan Chatham?
Well, Susan Chatham, like I said, she's sexy and she's hot and steamy, as are the men she's with. But her story is really one of woman's resilience and how to reinvent yourself and how to empower yourself and how to really dig deep and keep going and how you can turn an adversity into an accomplishment. And it's really the story of empowerment. Many people think that erotica is naughty or dirty, but a lot of us have sweet relationships where we're married to the Winnie the Poohs of the world, whether it's our partner or our marriage. And sometimes we just need a little spicy Tigger too.
I love it. So, oh my goodness, Doris Vilk. She is the author of the Amazon book, right where you can get it, Love Arrested, with the 2 more books coming up in the Chatham series, Love Attempted and Love Avenged. Doris, I have enjoyed talking with you so much. It has been just fun and informative, and I really appreciate it. So thank you so much, Doris Vilk, for being here.
Thank you, Tammy. The pleasure has been all mine.
This is Tammy Patzer. Go make it a beautiful day.
You've been listening to Women Innovators with Tammy Patzer. To learn more, please go to womeninnovatorsradio.com. And please do subscribe and share to spread the big messages and big missions to change the world.